What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast number 417. And once again, I keep starting a podcast off like this. I apologize for the delay in the episode. This is crazy to admit this, but this is genuinely what happened. I genuinely forgot to record the podcast. I've been doing this for, I want to say it's coming up in 5 years, which is kind of crazy to say. I've been doing this for basically 5 years. Or 4 years, somewhere around there. I think I started, 6 years. I started at the end of 2026, I think. 6 years. Holy shit, time flies. Anyways, I've been basically doing this for 6 years and have never forgotten to record a podcast episode ever in my life. Usually if I miss recording that day, it's because I had something going on, blah, blah, blah. But I genuinely forgot to record the podcast episode because what happened was I either recorded Thursday night or Friday mornings. And then we usually upload it Friday afternoon. That's the plan. That's what we've been trying to make happen. I know I've been uploading it Saturday, Sunday, Friday sometimes, but Friday is usually the plan, right? That Thursday night, I had a major meeting with someone. So in my head, I'm just thinking about that. I'm not thinking about anything else because I want to nail this meeting. I want to make sure that this person is like, yo, I just got it on point. So in my head, there's nothing else I'm thinking about. And now you're probably wondering, why is the meeting at night? It doesn't make any sense, right? Well, they're in the West Coast. So to me, it was like 8 or 9 p.m. when the call happened. For them, it was like, I think they're 3 hours ahead. So it was like 6, 5, whatever. So that's that. That whole day, I was just focused on that. Then Friday morning, my brother-in-law needed me to help him with something in the morning. So I had accepted that to help him. And that morning, I was just focused on that, and that's it. So I just genuinely forgot. And then my video editor for the podcast, shout out to you, Ivan, he just texted me. He's like, hey, are you recording the podcast? I was like, in my head, I was just like, what? It's already Friday? Like, that's how busy I've been. Like, these days have just been flying for me. If you look, like, on X, on Twitter, I usually tweet at least once or twice a day. I'm usually on social media. But there was like a gap of like 2-3 weeks where I didn't post anything because I've been that busy. But it's for the greater good. I wish I could like tell you guys, everything. I wish I could. Yeah, it's just for the greater good, growing, the company overall. So that's what I've been kind of dealing with, and I just genuinely forgot to record. Although there is a lot of stuff happening. So we're going to go over a lot. I mean, from 50 and Ross going back and forth, I'm going to dismantle William Roberts, because he said a lot of stuff that is not factual, but that's his whole career. It's never been factual, so I'm going to dismantle that, talk about Diddy updates, Lil Durk, all this other stuff, Keefe D, the trial coming up, ASAP Rocky admitted to dissing Drake, the game, and Kendrick Lamar's beef. Apparently, they got beef now. I don't know, so there's a lot of stuff going on, so let's start it off with a bunch of updates from like previous trials and stuff like that, and we're going to start out with Lil Durk. So Durk is hit with a 4th superseding indictment. So let's go over this. Lil Durk's trial is inching closer, but it's certainly not looking like a walk in the park for the Chicago rapper. Over the past few weeks, there have been new updates that prosecutors are hoping will allow a conviction to stick. While Durk has maintained his innocence, federal prosecutors have updated their case against him by filing a 4th superseding indictment. The revised charging document bumps the number of counts up to 7 from 6. Without introducing new allegations or altering the government's case. The latest indictment addresses what prosecutors described as a legal issue involving the federal interstate stalking statute. A single count previously combined allegations involving Quando Rondo, who is identified in court records as TB, and Lil Pab, real name Savay Robinson. Prosecutors now say each alleged victim must be charged separately under federal law, prompting the revision. As a result, the indictment now includes one interstate stalking charge related to the alleged targeting of Quando Rondo with a dangerous weapon, and a separate interstate stalking count tied to Robinson's death. Robinson was fatally shot during the August 2022 attack in Los Angeles that authorities claim was intended for Quando Rondo. So all remaining charges against Lil Durk remain intact. They include murder in aid of racketeering, conspiracy to commit interstate stalking, conspiracy to commit murder for hire, using interstate facilities to carry out murder for hire, resulting in death, and a related firearms offense. Durk has pleaded not guilty to the allegations. Yeah, the trial begins later this month. So in this month, we have Keefe D, we have Lil Durk, I think Mo 3, what's the guy's name? Yellow Beezy, Mo3. And another one, I think, off the top. I can't remember. But there's a lot of trials that are going to start this month. I think some of them are going to get pushed back. I just got a gut feeling. Maybe the Lil Durk one. But yeah, a lot of trials are going to start. The Keefe D one starts in a couple of days. So I'm going to try to cover that as best as I can, day per day. We're going to see what I can do. Maybe I can record videos every single day about it. Here's the kind of issue with hip hop content is like, I see a lot of hip hop creators in the content world are like mainly focusing on trials and murders. And, it's not even focused about the music or like history of hip hop anymore. It's just like, yo, how do we cover, this murder trial? How do we cover this? It's all about beef and just, like people, it just doesn't seem like some people are doing it for the love of the game. They're doing it just to, what's trending in terms of murders and violence and all that. It's fine to do it to a certain extent, but yeah, to me, that's why I do it on the podcast because it's just news throughout the week, but I don't want to like dedicate like specific documentaries and time just on like murder trials and just on like violence 24/7, even though hip hop has a lot of that, unfortunately. Yeah, that's kind of, that's why I don't really like day to day cover certain like murders and trial. I just like, hey man, I'm a fan of hip hop, not of people murdering people. That's basically the gist of it. I know some of it ties to hip hop. I get it. But to me, I didn't want to be somebody who makes murder documentaries and conspiracies and all this other stuff. So that's not a shot to anybody, by the way. I'm just saying for me personally, I just can't, so if you guys expecting that from me, I'm not really that person to watch for that type of content. So yeah, that's not my lane. I'm thank God I'm starting to get back to documentaries like slowly. It's been a brutal process to get back there because I've been growing the social media side of Diverse Mentality to where I haven't had any time on the YouTube side. Like I'm actually losing subscribers. These past like 2 months, I've lost like 200 subscribers. It's not a lot, but I've never been on the negative side where I'm losing subscribers just because I haven't really been uploading like that. So the YouTube has suffered so that the other stuff can prosper, but I'll figure it out. I'll balance it out eventually because we just, we're going to start hiring, more people eventually. And as I'm hiring more people, that gives me more free time to start doing my YouTube stuff like I normally do. Anyways, now I'm rambling on, but that's the update with Lil Durk, and we'll see what happens later this month if the trial starts. Continuing on, Diddy's prison release date has been pushed back following the fight. So let's go over this. Diddy has had quite a few ups and downs in prison. While staying at the FCI Fort Dix, the music mogul has been involved in various programs which have ameliorated, I don't know how to say that word, I'm going to be honest with you guys, ameliorated his standing within the system. In fact, his prison release date has been moved up numerous times. For instance, he was originally supposed to be released in April of 2028. As of last week, this date has been moved up to late January. If you're doing the math, that means Diddy only has 18 months left in prison bid. However, according to TMZ, Diddy's recent prison fight has caught up to him. If you recall, this is the fight that landed Diddy in solitary confinement. Presumably as a result of the fight, Diddy has had his release date moved back for the first time. Now he's expected to be released on February 20th, 2028. Woohoo! They pushed it back like 3 weeks. The guy went from April to fucking late January, and then you pushed it back 3 weeks. Wow. Oh my God. This guy is going to suffer another 3 weeks. It's crazy. This is insane, though. This guy can fight, kill people, whatever, do whatever. I'm not saying kill people. I'm just, he can do whatever, and he gets away with it, basically. That's the gist of it. This is still about 2 months earlier than he initially expected, although after being told January would be his release date, this probably comes as a large disappointment to the hip-hop cornerstone. I really wonder if this guy's going to just like, when he gets released, is he going to like go back in the limelight or is he just going to disappear? I would disappear because like, what's the point? Why go back in the limelight? But knowing Diddy and how much of a attention whore he is, being all up on the videos, dancing, he's probably going to go back to the limelight. He's probably going to do a sit-down interview, maybe with Charlemagne or somebody who's a safe Jay-Z Rock Nation tie, because that's just how it's going to go. We're not surprised. He's not going to go to somebody who is not tied to Jay-Z. Let's just say that. Like, it's going to be a Jay-Z Rock Nation tie. That's how the interview is going to be done. It's a safe interview. It's going to be softball questions. So it's going to be probably Charlemagne. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be Charlemagne because he's this figure and he's obviously with Jay-Z. So it just makes total sense. That's what's going to happen when he gets out. But he should just straight up go on Vlad TV. I'm going to be honest with you. Straight up, just go to Vlad TV, bro. Do that interview. That'll be the realest shit you've done. Vlad will ask you all the questions. I personally don't want to interview you, so if you even came up and said, yo, I'm sitting down with you, I'd be like, no diddler, I'm good. So to me, I'm good on that. And I'm dead serious about that, by the way. Like, to me, it just wouldn't, I don't care what status it would put me on in terms of views and all this other shit. I'm the type of person, if I don't want to do it, I don't care what comes with it. I just don't want to do it. And there's been a lot of examples like that behind the scenes that I can't mention on here. But yeah, just saying that. Continuing on, Diddy's Ibiza tapes face final forfeiture as the feds reveal few details about the recording. So this is interesting. If there's one thing we don't know, it's what Diddy contained on his hard drive. Since his arrest, there has been speculation that there are videos of his supposed freak-offs, and while one of them involving Daffy and Joy has leaked online, we're not entirely sure what the other videos contain. What's interesting is that a judge recently signed off on the final forfeiture of Diddy's belongings from his 2024 raid, which included cash and electronics. Apparently, that includes a collection of cassettes reportedly labeled Ibiza tapes. The filing identifies the recordings only by their label, Ibiza tapes, without providing details about their contents, origins, filming dates, or any confirmed link to the Spanish island. The request comes after the government completed the required forfeiture notification process. Prosecutors stated that public notice was posted for 30 consecutive days and that no third party submitted claims challenging government's ownership request. What these tapes contain remains unclear, especially since there's little clarification on whether investigators reviewed the tapes or whether they contain material connected to the criminal case. The tapes are part of a larger collection of electronic and surveillance-related materials seized during investigation, including phones, computers, hard drive, flash drives, tablets, and other devices. The development follows Combs' federal trial where jurors reached a mixed verdict. Yeah, this is a bunch of other shit that we already know about. Yeah, and they were forfeited to the government officially. So, per TMZ, the latest news surrounds the cash and electronics just seized when his home was raided. A judge has now signed off on forfeiting the belongings to the government. Judge Arun. Man, what is up with these judge names being like super long and hard to pronounce? Like, does every judge, why can't it just be like Judge Aaron, I don't know, Scott, I don't know, something simple that I can fucking read. This guy's name is Arun Subramanian. Like, every judge I've read on these fucking articles, it's got to be some crazy name. Shout out to Subramanian. Signed off on the order on Tuesday, forfeiting thousands of dollars worth of items to Uncle Sam. This includes $9,000 in cash. Please hand that to me. That'd be amazing. But this is crazy. Like, if the government has like cash, they get to just keep it. Like, that's basically what it is. It's kind of crazy. It's iPads, hard drives, and more that were seized from the Park Hyatt Hotel in September 2024 when the mogul was arrested. It should be noted that there weren't any claims contesting the forfeiture in the documents. Once the forfeiture notice is published, there was a 30-day window. Since no one responded, the judge signed off on it. Frankly, this is probably very low on Diddy's list of priorities right now. Yes. I don't think he gives a shit about $9,000, iPads, and hard drives, unless those hard drives contain crazy stuff. But other than that, the guy's rich. So give me that $9,000, Diddy. Be generous. Be a good person at least once. Hand that $9,000 to me, man. I could use that really badly. Lots of updates when it comes to Keefe D. The first one is he was denied a request to post bail ahead of the trial. So let's go over this. We're inching closer and closer to Keefe D's trial surrounding the murder of Tupac Shakur. However, it looks like it will be an uphill battle for him. Over the past few weeks, we've received new updates on the case, including the court's decision to allow his 2008 police interview to be presented as evidence. Moreover, the judge also allowed his book to be used as evidence. Frankly, things aren't looking good for this guy. Keefe D appeared in court earlier today, but according to Kathy Rusin, the managing editor of Law and Crime, his attempts to make bail has been shut down by the judge. Dwayne Davis asked for a continuance, stating he almost has the money needed to bail out so he could be out for trial. Judge denied that request, and he definitely ain't happy about it. Keefe D seemingly received assistance in this department in the past, though his finances haven't necessarily helped in securing his bail. Jury selection for Keefe D's trial will begin next week on August 10th. As Rusin reported, the trial is expected to take 4 weeks in total. Most recently, a list of possible witnesses emerged online. The list contains 200 names, including Suge Knight. That's another thing that made headlines. People were going crazy over. Keefe D also reiterated recently that he will not be taking a plea deal. With as many rocky patches as there has been since his arrest, it seems difficult to see this ending in his favor. So that's another thing, too. He did a sit-down interview with 8 News Now, and he said he won't be taking the plea deal, which is I guess because he feels he's innocent. So why would he take a plea deal if he feels he's innocent? So let's see and play a little bit of that.
Has the DA's office offered you any plea deals, and would you consider a plea deal?
I'm not gonna take no plea deal because I didn't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm 63, I had a cancer battle, and I got 3 stents to my heart. And the average American lives to like 74 years old. 10 years, I'm dead. So what I don't like taking a deal, you know what I'm saying? I heard it was like something 10 to 25. I'm not gonna do that, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna take a deal like that. And I have, especially after I haven't done nothing. I'm an innocent man.
How concerned are you that you'll be convicted after this trial and you won't get to spend your final years with your family?
Yeah, I think the Ninth Circuit Court is gonna let me go. I think they're gonna let me go, because it's not right. I'm gonna be all right though, because God upstairs, he got me, and he know I am this.
There you have it. He has a good point. You know, if they're offering him 10 to 25 years as a plea deal, he's 64. Average American actually lives to be 77, so he got the number wrong on that. But yeah, let's just say they give him 20 years plea deal. He's gonna die in there. Like that's the highly more likely chance. So it makes sense that he doesn't want to accept that, and he's gonna fight it. And then he throws, you know, someone else under the bus and says this is the person that did it actually, and not him.
If you did not have anything to do with Tupac Shakur's murder, who do you think did?
To me, I think they witnessed Reggie Wright Jr. All he do is lie, is tell stories. He even be on interviews threatening my son, you know what I'm saying? Threatening my family. It's wrong. Even Katie be on them interviews threatening my family. You know, it's wrong, man. It's period, it's wrong.
In that 400-page motion filed by the DA's office, one of the points that they are trying to make is that a lot of what you have said is true. So you're sort of your own witness, that you said you went to prison for selling drugs, all of these specifics, your role with the Crips. So they're saying you were accurate, so you might be accurate about the murder.
They're lying. This is a bunch of lies.
And then he mentions Reggie Wright Jr., who does his own interviews, and he kind of throws him under the bus and says that's the person who knows who killed Tupac. And, you know, come on. Like, this is the evidence points and just what he's told and who were there. He was at least in the car. He wasn't the one that pulled the trigger, but he was in the car. We know that as like a fact. So, you know, he's trying to save face as much as possible. We'll see what happens with the trial, but that's it, really. There's really nothing outside of that. I know that 50 saw Keefe D basically essentially defend Diddy is what I'm seeing. So let me actually go through this post that 50 posted. And it was like, I guess Keefe D clears Diddy of Tupac murder before trial, despite $1 million payment claim. So he clears Diddy of that.
Diddy, Puffy, whatever. Do you think he had anything to do with the murder of Tupac Shakur?
No, man. I don't think so at all.
What about Biggie's?
I don't think either one. To me, it's the Toronto police is out there in our area.
So 50 saw that, and then he posted, you think Polymark let me bet this fool is going to get 20 years? That's a crazy, crazy caption. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens moving forward. Like I said, interesting nonetheless, but he's trying to save face as much as possible, and it's just not going his way. Cameron has another issue with another artist, and this time it's not J. Cole. Thankfully, it's somebody else. So let's go over. A missing guest verse has appeared into a warning for the people working around Cardi B. Cameron says members of her team secured a recording from him by promising that Cardi would later appear on his show, only for the collaboration to disappear from her album and the interview to remain unbooked. Cam addressed the dispute while making a clear distinction between Cardi and the people representing her. He praised her career and noted that she has consistently supported his music. His problem, he explained, is with the two individuals on her team who have continued contacting him despite failing to honor their agreement that persuaded him to record the verse. According to Cam, Cardi's representatives first approached him 2 or 3 years ago about appearing on a song. He agreed on the condition that she returned the favor with an interview. Her team reportedly assured him that getting Cardi on the show would be simple, so he asked them to reach out once the album was close to completion. The request resurfaced when Cam was told the project was roughly a month away from release. He was occupied with other work and assumed he had missed the window, but the same people returned nearly a year later, still asking for his contribution. Cam eventually completed the verse, and When I Am the Drama arrived in September 2025. However, neither his name nor the collaboration appeared. Losing the placement was not what set him off. Cam said he still expected the interview that had been promised in exchange for his work. He also allowed for the possibility that Cardi knew nothing about the arrangement, arguing that artists should not be held responsible when members of their teams make commitments without their knowledge or approval. That grace did not extend to the people who contacted him. Cameron threatened to begin exposing anyone who invokes an artist's name to secure favors and then refuses to deliver. Once I get the dirt on you, I'm going to put the dirt out, he said, warning that texts and photographs could be part of a weekly airing out session. He also threatened to disclose private, intimate information, turning what began as an industry grievance into something far more personal. Cardi has not publicly addressed Cam's claims, and he did not identify the team members he accused of misleading him. The shelved record may not stay private much longer. Cam said he plans to release the song himself, interview or no interview. And there you have it. I would play the clip, but because Cameron's on Revolt and stuff, it's usually copyright. But that's the gist of it. And it's not like the J. Cole situation, because he actually talked to J. Cole directly. So this is the issue. I'm surprised. Like, Cameron is Cameron. He should be able to have some sort of access to Cardi B in one way or another. Like, he should just DM her on Instagram or find a way to, like, you're Cameron at the end of the day. You're not, me, basically. Like, if I struggle to get Cardi B because I'm not at a level of a Cameron, I'm not famous like that to be able to get Cardi B. So I guess surprised that some of these artists deal with, like, the people that are the middlemen. It's like, just go directly to the person, man. Like, if Cardi B learns, hey, Cameron's trying to reach out to you, then she will, 9 times out of 10 at least, probably, want to hear what he has to say and what he wants. That's kind of what I get out of this. I'm like, why do artists just don't go directly to the source? But sometimes it's hard to reach out to these people. Some of them are just, but Cardi B is, like, more accessible, I feel like. Like, I can understand Eminem, right? Like, the guy never comes out, never does anything. Like, you have to go through layers and layers and layers. But Cardi B is out and about doing interviews, out and about on social media consistently. So genuinely surprised at that. But I guess we'll see what happens moving forward, because Cardi B is probably going to get to the bottom of this, because I'm sure headlines are made all over with this. The legendary Kurupt stopped by Sway's universe and revealed something very interesting. So let's go over this article. A private rehab stay that gave Kurupt room to recover away from public scrutiny came with an unexpected benefactor. Eminem covered the cost of the treatment after learning that the West Coast veteran's alcohol addiction had escalated into seizures and a medically induced coma. People reported that Kurupt shared the story during an appearance on Sway in the Morning, explaining that Dr. Dre contacted him as he dealt with the health crisis. Rather than to deliver a lecture, Dre offered encouragement from someone who understood how addiction could consume an artist's life. So let's play this clip.
When you were going through your challenges, Eminem and Dre called you.
It was Dr. Dre that called in.
Okay.
Literally. Was just giving his support and, just letting me know that, we all go through these things. He was just, giving me that game. Mm-hmm. And it was M who came to the table like, I'm going to put Kurupt with my folks and put some money into getting him into like a rehab situation to where, he can sit it down and enjoy himself and be out the way. Nobody will know he's there. These things cost bread. So M put the cheese up for it. So tell Kurupt I love him. Dr. Dre relayed the message, and then he put me with M's folks. So, that was real special to me.
Yeah.
I appreciate both of them so much. And it's like, damn, he just came out the blue from nowhere. Like, okay, Kurupt going through that. Bam, boom. I'm going to do that for him, man. Tell Kurupt get well. We love him. That's deep.
And there you have it. Shout out to Eminem, man, for looking out, and shout out to Kurupt for sharing that story. I'm pretty sure Eminem looked out because he had to deal with his own drug addiction with actual prescription pills and all that stuff, not alcohol specifically, but going through that, I'm sure he understands, the difficulty surrounding it. And I'm pretty sure the last thing anyone wants to think about is finances when it comes to rehab when they're dealing with these problems. So shout out to Dre and M. Pretty cool story. So just wanted to talk about it. Chris Brown wants a new trial. Let's go over it. Chris Brown is currently on a massive tour with fellow R&B star Usher, but that doesn't mean he isn't staying busy with other moves. According to TMZ, he and his legal team recently filed a notice of intent to challenge the judgment in his dog attack case and begin a new trial over his former housekeeper's allegations. For those unaware, a Los Angeles jury found Brown liable for his dog Hades mauling his then housekeeper Maria Alvia when she was taking out the trash at his home in 2020. She said she suffered nerve damage and injuries to her arm and face, which took dozens of seizures and skin grafts to recover from. The court ordered him to pay Avila $12.9 in damages, but now the singer's notice yesterday, Friday, July 31st, in LA indicates he and his company, Black Pyramid LLC, want the court to toss the verdict and institute a new trial. The filing reportedly points to the following alleged reasons as justifications for a new trial: excessive damages amounts for Avila, insufficient findings proven innocence, jury misconduct, and procedural irregularities that hindered his right to a fair trial. On September 22nd, the court will hold a hearing to evaluate this notice of intention. Then the judge will decide what happens with the case. So yeah, just regular protocol to fight back because of the settlement. Nothing really new here, but we'll see what happens moving forward. All right, so I'm going to go over this YG and Drake situation because a lot of it's kind of all over the place and weird. Essentially started from Glasses Malone, who was a former West Coast rapper who's now a media personality, give or take. He went out on an interview, I believe, or on his platform and basically said that, hey, I've been hearing that Drake is behind the narrative that YG killed Drakeo Tha Ruler because Drake and YG are beefing now, of course. So, he's pushing the narrative that Drake is funding all these articles that are pointing the finger at YG. YG sees that, and YG decides to basically see a tweet, and he posts on his stories this, which is like crazy to post. He says, "Say it ain't so." So he reads the tweet, which says, Glasses Malone revealed some BTS fuck shit that Aubrey is doing to fuck with YG. According to him, Aubrey is funding propaganda and trying to get YG arrested for Drakeo Tha Ruler's death. He also revealed that there is more behind the scenes shit he is doing the world don't know about. So first, this is Glasses Malone. There's no proof. There's nothing. There's just speculation. So YG reacts to that post and says, "Say it ain't so." And then he posts another thing, and this is the dumbest thing he could post. He says, "Red alert, B team tap in," which a lot of people have decoded as like gang slang for Red Bloods to start tapping in, certain teams that they have, whatever. I don't fucking know, bro. I'm not a gangster. But basically people said that's like a gang term to have a meeting and to properly discuss what could be done towards Drake potentially, which is the dumbest thing to post online, especially when you already have the feds have eyes on you. That's probably the worst and dumbest timing to post things. But I don't know. You just can't, it's really stupid on his end. So from there, Glasses Malone basically doubles down. He says he's 100% confident that Drake is going after YG. 100%. It's not like a speculation. He's saying it's 100%. Let's see what he has to say.
Okay, on a scale from like 1 to 100%, because you made headlines because you brought up the fact that Drake might be assisting in some of the financing of pushing this YG narrative with the Draco situation. How sure are you that that's a thing?
100%.
100%.
Bro, it's not. A$AP Rocky just did an interview where he explained, like, man, this is something that they do in the business. You know what I mean? They seed stories. Like, this is not no big thing. Like, the same thing happened in the civil suit with Universal. He accused them of crimes. There's a reason you accuse somebody of crimes. Puff just went to jail out of a civil suit accusing Cassie of crimes. Like, this is not some deep thing. It's simple. Like, it's right in our fucking face. Like, that's not deep.
So there's that. I get what he's saying with like, he's saying, hey, this is what happens in the business, that stories and narratives get pushed and that certain people fund those. I get that 100%. That I could 100% believe, because it's clear as day whenever Jay-Z gets criticized or gets put into these Epstein headlines and blah, 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 you just see all these media outlets start posting positive things about Jay-Z or making the focus about music and whatever. Like, it just immediately happens. So clearly Rock Nation has some type of funding money behind the scenes to push certain narratives. And it's not just Jay-Z doing that. I'm pretty sure 90% of rappers that are really, really rich do that. You know, there's even some platforms that you can look at on X that are clear as day paid for platforms. Like, you can tell media outlets pay them to post stuff. Like, it's just clear as day. You know, there's one on X called Fear Buck, I think. Clear as day, a paid poster. Caruso, it's actually looking like they're also a paid platform because they built a platform enough to where they're probably getting paid to post whatever. I'm not saying it. This is all speculation, but that does happen behind the scenes because it's people have reached out to me to do it, make videos on YouTube and say this and do this. I've never accepted it because I'm not going to pay to push a narrative. That's not my style. I never cared to do that. But there are people out there that don't care. They want to push narratives. If they're getting paid, they don't care what narrative they're pushing, as long as they're getting paid. They don't care whose life it's destroying. They don't care anything, as long as they get paid. Glasses Malone saying that is no surprise, but he has no proof at the end of the day. This is all speculation. So you can't just speculate. You know, yeah, you could say artists and stuff pay to push certain narratives, of course, but you are speculating because there's no proof. Like, if he came out and proof and said, hey, look, this bank account that wired this money to this X profile is tied to OVO in some way, shape, or form and provides certain proof, then I can understand you saying it. But, like, Drake should sue this guy for defamation, you know, because you're pushing a narrative without any proof. Because that's a crazy narrative push. Like, that can get Drake killed. Look at what YG's doing. That could literally get Drake killed. People like that, if you're not providing proof, you deserve to get sued and to have, like, everything taken from you. Because it just doesn't seem like there's, like, integrity anymore. Like, it's just whatever comes to your mind and whatever catches headlines. That's all I give a fuck to say. And you'll never get that from me, period. So from there, Drakeo Tha Ruler's brother completely destroys Glasses Malone and what he says. And he disagrees. He says that's cap. It's not true. So he said, I just heard a guy say today that Drake has been taking care of family and shit. He said during the live stream, I know these guys is getting delusional, bro. This shit is getting crazy. Let's go over the article. Let's see. There remains a web of confusion around the death of Drakeo Tha Ruler, at least from the perspective of the investigation. Speculation has been rampant in the past few weeks surrounding YG's involvement, which resulted in his detainment. However, no charges have been laid against him. Still, narratives surrounding YG, despite concrete evidence, has filled the timeline, specifically one spearheaded by Glasses Malone. The West Coast rapper claimed that it was Drake who has been funding the narrative campaign against YG and the lawsuits that have been filed on behalf of Drakeo's family. Glasses Malone later doubled down on the narrative, claiming that the civil lawsuits could ultimately help build a criminal case. However, YouTuber Defan explained how Ralphie the Plug, Drakeo Tha Ruler's brother, denied that Drake was providing attorney fees to the family. Guy's got a strong case of delusion, he said. Elsewhere, Rafferty was asked about Drake's possible involvement with his family's finances. Yeah, he's basically just saying Drake has nothing to do with this situation. His own brother is saying that he didn't pay for a lawyer, none of that stuff. So yeah, I think Wack 100 jumped in and said the same thing. But after all this, Drake's quote-unquote shooter, the street guy, warned YG and just said, like, hey, man, what are you, like, crazy out here? You know, so let's see what he's got to say. YG, you don't want me to come back to LA. Don't get me started. So this guy is not a killer. He posted a photo of YG, you know, funny looking photo of YG, basically. So yeah, his shooter jumped in on it, quote unquote shooter. I don't want to say 100%, but he jumped in on it. But this is crazy, man. This is like, can potentially get people killed pushing these narratives. Like, this Drake and Kendrick beef went way too far left and has gone to levels that is, it's actually split media. Like, now I'm seeing just solely Kendrick media and solely Drake media now. Like, it's legit split media, hip-hop media. It's insane. Like, you can look at certain creators and say, this is Drake's side. You can look at certain creators and say, this is Kendrick's side. and I'm telling you this wholeheartedly from my heart, I am in the middle. I love Kendrick's music. I love Drake's music. I just enjoy the back and forth battle. I don't care about extending this to the levels that people are extending this. Now we got YG involved because Glass and Malone hates Drake because of the beef of Kendrick and he's on West Coast and all this crazy shit just to make Drake look crazy. So, yeah, man, overall insane, but we'll see what happens moving forward. All right, so this is interesting. Stat Quo was on a podcast with the company, man, and revealed that the issues between Game and Kendrick Lamar started when the Game brought Drake to Compton and they shot the video for 100. And allegedly, and as we know throughout the years, Drake was sending shots at Kendrick Lamar on that song, saying if I could have your home fan base, if I went conscious and not on some pop shit, and I can give out whatever he says in the verse, you get it. You know the verse. He says basically if I went conscious rap, I would take your whole fan base, but I decided to go the pop route. So it is a diss. People that said, hey, it's a diss towards Kendrick Lamar. And mind you, this is in Compton, where Kendrick Lamar's at. Game is basically co-signing it. And apparently from there, that's when the relationship went sour. But fans pulled up a photo of Game and Kendrick in 2017. They took a photo together. But people are saying, hey, it doesn't matter. A photo is just being cordial. It doesn't mean that they're cool. Because ever since then, it did look very shaky and weird. From there were then speculations. Hey, how did this beef? Why did it happen? Blah, blah, blah. The Game ended up calling Stat Quo about that and said that, hey, if Kendrick was mad at me for working with Drake when they were beefing, then I should be mad at Kendrick for working with 50 Cent when they were acting together in Power, because Kendrick Lamar appeared on Power. Now, here's why that doesn't make sense. Because Kendrick Lamar and 50 collaborated on music in 2013 with We Up. So if that was the case, Game would have got mad a long time ago at Kendrick Lamar, and they would have never been cool since then. But that was never the case. So he's throwing this example out, which is wrong. It's a bad example to use because Game and 50 even kind of hashed things out in between 2017, 2018 when 50 was running into him. When he was out in LA, he was running into him at clubs. Game was like, yo, I want to talk to you, 50. And they had that iconic photo where they meet, blah, blah, blah. So that whole narrative that Game's pushing of, oh, if he did that, then I should be mad at this. It just doesn't make any sense because Game and 50's beef was really, it was on Game's side where it was on and off. For 50, he's never really fucked with Game ever. He just said, stay away from me, basically. And Game was the one that's like, yo, I'm cool with 50, man. I want to show love. G Unit, this. And then the next week he says F50 and FG Unit and all that. So that whole narrative is kind of crazy. But here is something that Game commented. He commented on a photo that criticized Kendrick Lamar for not showing him more respect and support. Because Game looked out for Kendrick Lamar really early in his career, brought him on tours, featured him on songs. Same with Nipsey Hussle. Game has really been really like embracing the newer generation in the West Coast. But he commented on that, and this is an interesting, very interesting comment. He said, at least one ninja get it. Fans and internet goofies will never get it. These ninjas aren't who you think they are. One day I'm going to pull the curtain down so you can see every clown in their circus. That's a crazy comment to make. Top Dog did call in and address what Stat Quo said. And he basically confirmed that, hey, Kendrick Lamar did distance himself when the Game 100 video happened with Drake. And it's clear as day. After that, Kendrick and Drake, Game and Kendrick didn't work with each other anymore after that. It just, it's clear as day that there's a distance there. It is what it is. We'll see what happens moving forward. I do think there might be a Game and Kendrick beef brewing. And Game is all for that. He loves the battle. So who knows? Maybe it just dies out. Nobody cares. Everybody moves on. But yeah, it's clear as day when the YG and Game versus happened. Game was like, hey, I don't give a fuck. I'm supporting the boy. Like, he's on my record. Hey, if anybody got a problem, let me know. YG probably didn't like that because of this whole Drake and YG situation that's happening now. And YG never really fucked with Drake anymore because of the whole Kendrick thing. So, like I said, this Drake and Kendrick beef, like, it needs to be studied for, like, causing so much I don't know like what the proper word is. Just so much issues between everybody, like from friends to artists to this. It's gotten crazy out of hand, but we'll see what happens moving forward. 50 Cent and Rick Ross have decided to go back and forth continuously over Rick Ross's poor album sales. And I'm going to go over what they've been talking about back and forth, and then I'm going to break down the facts because William Roberts once again decides to not spew the facts. The first thing is 50 Cent posted a photo of reports that Rick Ross's Set in Stone album fell like very, very low to the charts. By the second week, it was at the lowest point in his career ever. Within only the second week. So 50 posted that, and in the caption said, LOL, I'm sorry it's over. Can't fake it forever. From there, 50 decided to continue the onslaught and posted a tweet that showed that Rick Ross was struggling to sell tickets in his Port of Miami tour in Michigan. I mean, all the seats were empty. This guy was struggling to sell tickets in his own city. So imagine him trying to sell in Michigan where he's nowhere near related or even from. So 50 posted that and said, damn, I never saw it this bad before. What you gonna do? Focus on the wings. From there, Rick Ross decided to respond on video and didn't directly address 50, but said that his album in the first 2 weeks did 63.5 million streams, which to him, he says, equates to about 42,500 copies in actual album sales. Now, I looked this up, and this was obviously a lie. I mean, it's simple. You can look this stuff up. So Spotify is the only platform that actually shows streaming numbers, where you can actually look up the numbers. And at the time when I looked it up, when he said this, he did 15.6 million streams. Now, the total numbers that he said is 63.5 million. Spotify owns about 33 to 35% of the streaming market. It is the biggest platform when it comes to streaming. So the math on that means that if he actually did 63.5 million, these numbers would come out to being higher. Instead, that 15.6 million comes out to about 24% of the Spotify numbers, which means that he did less than 63.5 million in streams. He probably did roughly 40 to 45 million because the other streaming platforms don't take up as big of a market. So that means there's less streaming numbers on there versus Spotify. So no surprise, this guy's lying. Regardless, in 2 weeks to do 43,000 is still not good numbers. So he's trying to justify it in any way, shape, or form. And he says, I'm playing the long game and so on and so forth. Whatever. All I'm saying is he lied on the numbers as he usually does. Continuing on, Rick Ross decides to diss 50 on video directly after 50 clowns him with those poor album sales. So this is what Ross had to say in the video.
As I said on my story yesterday, 22,000 the first week, 20 the second week. Those drastic fall-offs, guys, that you see with a lot of those other artists is when the numbers are inflated. The bots. To me, the new flex is no bots. Keep it genuine, keep it pure. Let the music fight any battles. You understand? Come on now. This the biggest boss. I'm letting you know. Do the long game, baby. That's how we hustling. That's how we winning. We here 20 years later. You know what I'm saying? Those G-Unit sneakers gonna be in Costco, baby. I like the Lloyd Banks ones better than all the other ones. Them other ain't even got no sneakers. But 50, give Lloyd Banks his own high top sneaker. And since the Shreveport ain't happening no more, you know what I'm saying? You can focus on the sneakers. And for example, if those numbers not inflated, why can't these same people with all these followers sell other products outside of the music? Why their sneakers can't sell? Why their alcohol can't sell? Why this can't sell? If you genuinely gotten a gazillion people that could do this with your music the first week, why everything else you do outside of music is unsuccessful? Now, the new flex is no bots. When you the boat, that's what Ricky Rose is. You know what I'm saying? You feel me?
I'm not going to address what Ross says right now. I'll address it later in the video. But 50 responds to that and says, nah, that ish was trash, bro. Get the F out of here. Then from there, Rick Ross decides to record another video and clowns 50 for doing a song with Tupac. So check this out.
I want to go viral this morning. So Curtis, I ain't finished with you. I saw you making excuses of why you was kicked off the shows, blamed it on the black woman. She's the creator. She wrote it. It's her show. Ghost was her show. Kanan was her show. She gave you 3,500 an episode. just to do little posts and all that. Be loyal to the black woman the way you are to Eminem. She gave you an opportunity. But I heard you say you finna release new music with Eminem and Tupac. Hey, boy, Pac been dead 30 years. Let the man rest in peace. And Eminem, come on now. Come on. Come on, Curtis. Put them shoes out, let them flop, and do your Tony Yayo Lloyd Banks remix, baby. Come on, baby, let's go.
After that, Ross recorded another video, and he's talking about his $100 million house and how if he wasn't really this and that, he wouldn't have these things, and how his streams could have been inflated as well, so on and so forth. Check this clip out.
I love to share game with the young hustlers. I'm a boss, keeping it true to the culture. If I wanted to sell 250 the first week, you think Rose couldn't have played that game? Them play to sell $250,000 the first week? That shit cheap. Them y'all be talking about can't even show you a motherfucking palm tree in their front yard. This $100 million house. It's crazy. These say they could sell 300 gazillion streams in the first 3 weeks, but where your clothesline at then? Why you ain't selling no shoes? You should be able to sell protein shakes if you sell that many streams. Y'all should be selling peptides. You should be able to sell anything if those numbers weren't inflated. Now Google all of their other assets outside of music. They spirits business, clothes business, this business, everything else. SMS audio, out of business.
50 responded to that and posted that video on Instagram and said, ha ha ha, this fool at an open house talking about a $100 million house. His house is available on Airbnb. What the F? Everything is fake. Get the F out of here. Now, let's address what Rick Ross has said point by point, because clear as day, this guy is lying through his teeth because his whole career is fabricated. This guy lies. It's just as simple as that. He lies about everything. This guy's whole career was built on taking someone's identity and making a fake persona about it, pretending he's the biggest drug dealer in the world when this guy was a correctional officer. So that's the first thing. Anything this guy spews out of his mouth, you can't believe. So let's break down everything, Ross. You're talking about Google it. We're Googling it. Let's break it down.
As I said on my story yesterday, 22,000 the first week, 20 the second week. Those drastic fall-offs, guys, that you see with a lot of those other artists is when the numbers are inflated. The bots. To me, the new flex is no bots.
First rebuttal is I looked up the numbers that you said about the 22 and 20,000. That's false. Like I said, Spotify owns 33 to 35% shares of streaming platforms. That's the platform you can look up the streams. When I looked it up, it only equaled up to about 24% of streams that you were talking about. So clearly there's a 10% miss there, which means you did not do 63.5 million streams like you said you did in the first 2 weeks. You probably did 40 million, which is not 43,000 in sales. It's roughly 30. Regardless of that, your album did fall off, and it fell off drastically. So that bots talk is false. You can only bot so much in music before you get exposed for having fake numbers. The most you can bot is probably 20 to 30% of your actual sales because, and you know about this because it's happening to you, when you go and tour and you can't sell out tickets, it's clear as day your numbers are fake. But yet, your numbers are horrible and you can't sell out your own tour. So that brings me to the next conversation.
No, do the long game, baby. That's how we hustling. That's how we winning. We here 20 years later.
In this part, you're talking about longevity, and this is what you are not doing in your career. Drake and 50 are doing longevity. Drake's had the longest music career possibly ever and is still dominating. Same with 50's career. He dominated music. Now he's dominating TV. You're not dominating. You're struggling to sell your book. You're struggling to sell your tour. You're struggling to sell your album. You are no longer relevant. The only time you get relevant is when you mention other people that are more relevant than you, which is Drake or 50. Nobody cares about the music. Nobody cares about the tours. Nobody cares about the books or the wings that you're selling. Nobody cares. You haven't played the long game. If you did, you would be dominating. You would be growing. You would be number one with a bullet all over the place, but you're not.
Those G-Unit sneakers gonna be in Costco, baby. And for example, if those numbers not inflated, why can't these same people with all these followers sell other products outside of the music? Why their sneakers can't sell?
Now on the point about the sneakers, which I'm going to eviscerate you from because this is the dumbest argument you can ever make. First off, you can Google this stuff. You said Google it. That's what I did. The sneakers sold 3.6 million pairs during 50 Cent's run in his prime. 3.6 million pairs, which equaled an $80 million check for 50 Cent at once. Paul Fireman, the former CEO, wrote him that check. You, on the other hand, had a Reebok deal, and they didn't even give you your own sneaker. They told you to promote the Reebok Classics. They didn't allow you to slap MMG's shitty logo on there. They didn't allow the Rick Ross shitty logo on there because they knew if you slapped that horrible logo on there, nobody would buy them. They didn't give you your own sneaker. They said, sell these sneakers, and you couldn't do it. They dropped you. You issued an official apology about your rape lyrics. You remember those lyrics? I die over these Reeboks. You didn't even know it. Put Molly all in her champagne. She didn't even know it. Took her home and enjoyed that. She didn't even know it. Yeah, those lyrics. And you know your friend Diddy is very well involved in the Epstein Island stuff. You know that. You're well aware of that. That's why you rap those lyrics, and nobody ever checked you for it because you do that type of stuff. You're a disgusting person for rapping those type of lyrics, and you know it. Reebok dropped you despite you issuing an official apology, making you lose $3.5 to $5 million. They dropped you with the quickness because you weren't even selling their sneakers. You can't even look up the sales figures of your Reebok shoes. Nobody even remembers those shoes, and they're not coming back. That's the funny thing. They're not coming back versus the G-Unit sneakers are coming back. You want to know why Reebok is bringing them back? Because they sold well. They dominated. In 50's prime, he was outselling literally everybody and everything in every category. Versus you never reached top 10 in your career ever in sales, in anything. Even when you were in quote-unquote prime and you destroyed 50's career and quote all these things that people were saying in 2010, 2011, you were only hot because you were surrounded by Drake, DJ Khaled, Lil Wayne, Diddy, who was pushing you as the next biggie, your boyfriend Diddy. You should go back to being a correctional officer because there you can actually go see your boyfriend Diddy. Go to Fort Dix, apply to be a correctional officer, and they'll approve you because you have history being a correctional officer, and then you can see your boyfriend Diddy. And maybe you guys can plot up another Epstein Island plan. That's the thing. You rap lyrics of doing stuff to women, and they dropped you. So if you're talking about shoes, you're the last one to talk about shoes. You can't sell anything outside of music, and you're the one talking about that. Your book never reached New York Times bestseller. You know how easy it is to reach a New York Times bestseller? Anybody, you and me watching this video, could release a book and hit the New York Times bestseller. That's how easy it is. You couldn't even touch that. Then you do touring. You don't even sell in your own city. 40% is sold in your own city of Miami at a 3,000 venue capacity. 3,000. 50 in Florida did 2 shows and damn near sold them out. And he's not even from there. In New York, in his own city, he sold it out so quickly they had to add another show. You can't even sell in your own city. People don't want to go see you. And the venue capacity is only 3,000 people. Meanwhile, 50, here's the data. Nobody's lying. You said Google, do your Google. Here's the data. Tampa, Florida, August 19, 2023, did 92.73% in sales. Damn near 100% sold out. 14,430 people, one show. Then he did West Palm Beach. He did a little bit less here at 85%, nearly sold out with 11,873. You couldn't even sell out 3,000 capacity in your own city. You did 40% in sales there, 40%. And if I'm right on the math there, it's what, 1,200 people at best? And you're the one talking about not being able to sell when it comes to outside of music. You're the one that's not selling. This is why you're trying to make excuses and make points and so on and so forth and say, oh, I'm this, I'm that. If you look in their prime of their careers, 50 outsold insane sneakers. He actually outsold Jay-Z 6-1 S. Carter's. This is Jay-Z. Outsold him 6-1. Albums. Get Rich or Die Trying, largest debut album in hip-hop all time. 872,000 sold the first week with no drop the second week, which has never been seen in music history. The Massacre. Fastest selling album for a black artist in music history. History since 1999, since Nielsen SoundScan started counting sales. Then you got video games. 5 million copies of Bulletproof, matching Grand Theft Auto, one of the biggest franchises ever in the video gaming industry. This guy was selling product in his prime. You and your prime got dropped by Reebok. They dropped you with the quickness. You issued an apology, and they were like, nah, this guy ain't doing nothing for us. They didn't even let you slap your logo on their shoes. I guess that doesn't matter. I guess the facts don't matter with this guy, and it never has. This guy stole someone's whole identity. And then you go at Tupac and Eminem, and Eminem would eviscerate you. Banks already did that. He destroyed you on Officer Down, despite you sending these shots at Banks all the time. He cooked you. Musically, you're nowhere near the level of either of those two artists. And that's the reality of the situation. The one time you got a platinum album was when streaming had to get added into sales, and you finally got Port of Miami to go platinum. Other than that, you were struggling to go gold. There is levels to this. 50's tour is at 103 million generated revenue and is around the world. And almost every show he did sold out. Yet you're struggling to sell out 3,000 venue capacity in your own city. In your own city. That's the crazy thing. Because if it was somewhere else, you could make an excuse, say, hey, I don't really have an audience in Michigan because everybody loves Eminem and not me. Remember when Trick did the no-fly zone? Yeah, you remember that. This guy has created such a fake persona that everything in his view is fake, inflated bots because he is a fake person. This guy is William Roberts. This guy is not Rick Ross. The real Rick Ross is from California, was an actual drug dealer, and doesn't approve of this guy's shenanigans. This guy was a correctional officer, never a drug dealer, and I'm sure he's going to go back to being a correctional officer because he wants to see Diddy, his boyfriend, in prison. He wants to help him out over there. Maybe he can, finesse some things in there for him. So go deal with Diddy and all the Epstein Island stuff you were doing and put Molly and champagne and women and doing stuff to them without them knowing. Because that's your true identity. And not you being the best and biggest boss. When you've never been top 10 ever in any single year. If you were, you barely cracked the top 10 in sales and dominance and anything. Name me a year, 2010, when everybody said he was the hottest thing since sliced bread. Who came out in 2010 and dropped music? Just think about it. Nicki Minaj, Pink Friday, Eminem, Recovery, Drake, Thank Me Later. All kinds of albums that came out that year. Your album was, came and went. You can go 2011, you can go 2012. The years that people were saying this guy was dominating, the hottest thing. What did he do? Never had a top 10 hit. Nothing. Solo dolo. It took Diddy being your boyfriend to push you as the next biggie. It took Drake's insane new buzz being on records with you. It took Lil Wayne's buzz. It took DJ Khaled. It took French Montana with Pop That. It took all these records, all these people to be around you to try to make you seem like you're a hot artist. But you solo dolo weren't doing nothing, zip zada, nada. But hey, these are all facts, man. This stuff you can look up. There's no lies here. Look up, see if you can find for me the sales of Rick Ross's Reebok sneakers. Please find it for me because I can't find it online. All I find is this guy getting dropped from Reebok. That's all I can find online. I can't find the sneakers numbers. You can find the unit sneaker numbers. Want to know why they published the unit sneaker numbers? Because it did really, really good. That's why they published it. You know what they don't publish? When something doesn't do good. We know that. We're well aware of that. You only broadcast stuff that does good. People don't like to broadcast when they do poorly in sales. Why would they broadcast that? So this guy's talking about sneakers. This guy's talking about all this stuff. And, it's a facade. It's a fraud. That's all it is, man. Everything he says is just inflated garbage that has no meaning behind it. No proof. It's different. There's going to be people comment to say, well, I like Rick Ross's catalog. That's your opinion. The world doesn't feel like that because if it did, his numbers would be representing that. And they don't. His numbers are nowhere near nothing. Like at least have an album that did like 3 million copies. At least one. Maybe Port of Miami. If it did 3 million copies, I'd be like, all right, you know what? People fuck with them. The music was there. This guy can't barely crack platinum. And you mean to tell me this guy's supposed to be the biggest boss and be dominating and he was the hottest topic at one point? Come on, man. Come on. But that's my take on it. And you guys know I provide the facts and the real information and no BS on here. It's all stuff you can look up. So if anybody feels like, hey, they want to rebuttal me on this or, Ross, I invite you. If you want to rebuttal me on any of this, prove it to me. Prove me with the streaming numbers. Prove me with everything because I can look all this stuff up. Google, like you said. And show that you're not really like that in terms of sales and dominance and all this. So, yeah, that's it for my take. Let's get into it. New music. And Pooh Shiesty dropped his album, All Eyes on Shiesty, which is ironically released under Gucci Mane's label still. So he lost. Major L for him. Carol G dropped her album, which features a Drake song, so everybody's going crazy over that. ESTG dropped Sometimes, the album. Roy Woods dropped X, the album. Lil Peep, Ben's Truck 2, rest in peace, Lil Peep. And that's about it for new music. Album sales, Ariana Grande is at number 1 debut with Pedal, 291,000 sold the first week, big numbers. Morgan Wallen, number 2, I'm the Problem with 75,000. Number 3, Olivia Rodrigo, You Seem Pretty for a Sad Girl, So in Love, 73,000. Number 4, Ella Langley, Dandelion, 71,000. Number 5, Noah Khan, The Great Divide, 59,000. Number 6, Drake, Iceman, 47,000. Number 7, Morgan Wallen, One Thing at a Time, 38,000. Number 8, Olivia Dean, The Art of Lovin', 36,000. Number 9, Michael Jackson, Thriller, 36,000. And number 10, Noah Khan, Stick Season at 34,000. Going down the list, Michael Jackson, number 1's at number 13 with 29,000. Number 17, SZA, SOS with 28,000. Don Toliver, number 20 with Octane, 25,000. Future, The Real Me at number 21 with 24,000. Lil Uzi Vert, Maverick, Almost Forever EP, debuted at number 25 with 21,000 sold. Drake, Take Care, number 29 with 21,000. Going down the list, a bunch of other groups and stuff, and that's really about it in terms of hip-hop for the most part. Billboard Hot 100, nothing's changed. Ella Langley, Choosing Texas, still at number 1. Ridiculous. I haven't even heard this song yet, to be honest with you. Been By Now, Morgan Wallen, number 2 debut. Taylor Swift, I Knew It, I Knew You, number 3. Number 4, I Can't Love You Anymore, Ella Langley, Morgan Wallen. Number 5, Boston, Stella Lefty. Number 6, Dracula, Tam, Impala, and Jenny. Number 7, So Easy, Olivia Dean. Number 8, Hate That I Made You Love Me, Ariana Grande. Number 9, Be Her, Ella Langley. Number 10, Man I Need, Olivia Dean. Same people in the top 10 for the past fucking year. Number 14, Drake, Janice, STFU. Number 18, Lil Baby, Dead Fresh. Highest peak for his career in a long, long time. So I guess Pharrell has the formula to make hits. Spend That, Young Miami, number 21. Let's see, going down the list. Shebang, Drake, number 27, which I don't even like that record. Cinderella, Mac Miller, number 30. Don Toliver, E85, number 38. Pop That Thing, The Baby, number 42, has been hovering around the 40s for a minute. Chicago, Michael Jackson, number 47. Drake, 2R for the Radio, number 52. Bossman, D-Lo, Motion Party, number 64. Drake, Ran to Atlanta, number 65. Whisper My Name, Drake, number 80. National Treasures, Drake, number 81. ICY, Moneybagg Yo, debuted at number 87. Drake, I'm Spent, number 93, a re-entry. That's interesting. And that's it for the Billboard Hot 100. And that's it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. Appreciate you always. Spotify, Deezer, Podcast, YouTube, all that. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to this. And peace.